Throughout the years, there are many stories relating to our brilliant British monarchy that some people might say, well, did that really happen? Is that true? Of course, when you look at royal history, particularly hundreds of years ago, we only have the books and scriptures and stuff like that and paintings to truly rely on. I would suggest really it was more the Georgian era, going in of course to the Victorian era, Edwardian. That's when we can actually verify certain things, because you do look at it and think, well, there's still documentation, there are relatives still around, and they may have been passed on, of course, certain individual stories. But there are certain stories of a more modern day age that you really have to take with a huge pinch of salt. And this one, I'm going to tell you exactly my feelings behind this, headline grabbing story that didn't happen. As ever, let me explain. Morning, good to see you. Thank you so much as ever for your time today. Nice to have your company. Whatever you're doing, do take care of yourselves out there. Lovely to see you. Now, it's funny, isn't it? When you're on a reality show, it's a bit like a chat show. I don't know if you know this, but when you go on a major chat show, you're asked in advance, you got any funny stories that the host could ask you? And then they'll say, oh, tell me about the time when you met, somebody like Glenn Ford or something. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. As if it's just come to them. Everything's pre-rehearsed. It's the same with reality TV shows. They're all fake, they're all set up, and the winner is ultimately decided whether you vote or not, whatever people think. It's a little bit like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, a rather unstellar cast, and apparently a big success this year. But apart from, say, like Colleen Rooney, who is the wife of a former Manchester United football player, do you really know many of these people? I mean, really? So this particular gentleman, a former pop star, the Reverend Richard Coles, does have something of a royal connection, albeit tenuously loose. You see, he's part of the podcast that is put out on a regular basis by none other than Charles Spencer, Princess Diana's brother, and that's become very successful. Recently, apparently, he stepped away from the church and then, of course, appeared on things like Strictly Come Dancing. And as I said, the aforementioned was a pop star with the Communal, so appeared on Top of the Pops, made quite a bit of money. Of course, having this association with the cloth really does help. He's still called the Reverend, you understand? Works very well. But this particular story on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, he apparently had this great story about the Queen. And it all centres upon the fact that at the state opening of Parliament, because she was now getting a little bit unsteady on her feet, they decided, along with the Duke of Edinburgh, to take her down in the lift. However, they took the wrong lift, took the service lift, and apparently she ended up in the servants' hall. Now, the bottom line is that this particular cleaner had a trolley, never looked up, shouted, budge up, rammed him with the trolley, and then used an expletive. Now, apparently, after all of that, the Queen invited her to tea. Now, what's the true story behind that? Well, the true story is they did use the lift on occasions, and they wouldn't have necessarily used the staff lift, but maybe that was just a faux pas by that particular individual. There is no record of this particular individual coming for afternoon tea, a brief meeting with tea, and let's be honest, it's just a simple faux pas. So why would that result in tea? I don't understand it. A tea with the Queen over something like this? And the reason why I highlight this is what I'm saying. These then become folklore stories embedded in the culture of, oh, that really happened. What I would say is to the right reverend, when you come out, exactly who told you when and where, and more importantly, where is the alleged cleaner that had tea with the Queen? As ever, always happy to set these records straight. Neil Shawn in the very heart of London.